and welcome in the first episode of Home But Not Alone in 2021. We're kicking off the year of great expectations with an incredible guest, Mr. Randall Restle, whom quite recently held the position of Vice President of Applications Engineering at DGK Electronics. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to kick off this year.
Randall, I had the opportunity to work with you and enjoy the smart ideas coming from your great mind. But would you mind telling the Home But Not Alone audience a bit more about yourself and your journey in the world of electronics?
Sure. My father was a mechanical engineer, and so there was always a lot of taking things apart. Tell me how this works. Tell me how that works in my household. And so I wanted to actually fly jets. And so I thought maybe I'll join the Air Force. And then I got thinking about listening to what the pilots are saying. And I thought, wouldn't it be neat to build a radio? So rather than go into mechanical engineering, I chose to go into electrical engineering. And that was way back in the 70s. So it's been a great run. I very much like the field, and I encourage anybody who's mathematically inclined and likes to know how stuff works to pursue engineering.
Yeah, I like the jet fighter story. My mom always wanted me to be a pilot. The problem is I had a bad side and I was afraid of heights, so that didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
So Randall, quite recently you posted the blog On the Road to Embedded World 2021. Would you mind explaining a bit what that is and what is the aim of that activity?
Yes. So last summer, the Embedded World Committee gave me a call and asked if I wouldn't mind giving one of the keynote addresses on the technical session. And I thought that, let's see, uh, what do I want to talk about? That was the first thing. And I definitely am motivated in how many people are today getting into electronics. And these are people who have not yet finished any kind of professional credentialization. They're not going to school. And so there is something about reducing the complexity of electronics for a mass market of people to use to introduce more people to electronics. And so I thought, well, I've got to research that. And so, all long story short, I ended up contacting my colleagues at DigiKey, and given the focus on DigiKey Plus and expanding out product lines and the Maker IO effort to get more and more people involved in electronics, I suggested that maybe they could be my sponsor. And what I'll do is I'll publish my monthly research to the audience to that basically explains my thoughts as I am organizing this presentation. So that's where we are now. So the fifth and last blog, these are monthly blogs, will
Mhm.
go live this month. And what I basically do is I talk about how we've managed complexity. How have we gone from when I went to school, I learned about analog. In fact, I had a class in analog computing. I learned filtering and all of that. I learned power. I learned digital. Turns out while I was in college, actually while I was in high school, the microprocessor was invented. And so all of these disciplines today are pervasive. How do we deal with those things? How does somebody begin to learn those? So that's what I try to mention in the blogs. How did that technology evolve? How are we dealing with complexity?
Yeah, I think the blog is great. And I encourage everybody, if you have a little bit of your time, go to the website, check Randall's blog because it's really phenomenal, especially for the engineers. So, of course, the link will be below that video. So, click it and have some fun and get some great stories from Randall as well. But when we're talking about the engineers, especially the young engineers, what do you believe are the key factors for the young engineers to should be focusing on right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that very question, and when I started in my career, integrated circuits were popular, and again, my father was a mechanical engineer, and he had an engineering friend who said that you need to know all of the details taking place inside the integrated circuit. And so for the longest time, I thought that was the case, to know all of those inner details. Um, It turns out that you can use technology in a containered kind of way, such that you don't have to know all of those details. But I really encourage people to learn as much as they can and not know things just superficially, but to dig in deeper. Again, you don't have to do that today. If that was the case, we'd all have to know how our computers work, but instead we just use the keys and it all happens to work for us. So be broad. Another thing, when I went to school, I feel sorry for people who did not get an education in analog electronics and digital electronics and software. Of course, the software that I learned on was Fortran. So be as broad as possible. Be a Renaissance engineer.
Oh, wow. I like that. The Renaissance engineer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool takeaway for
I
our
mean, I think that Elon Musk is one of these guys. You know, a lot of people, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he's an electrical engineer, and he's into all these different things. Don't let yourself be limited.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. So, Randall, as you are the first guest of the year and you have lots of experience in the market, would you mind giving us a bit of your view? What do you think is coming to the industry in the nearest future?
It's all great. Uh,
That was a quick one.
there are no limits.
Mm.
Um, we are going to have more electronics in our world than less electronics. And some people might feel that's bad, but these are life-saving electronics. These are communication electronics, and so it's always been a great time to be an electrical engineer. At one of the embedded worlds, I was someone was in my ear lamenting about how hard and how fewer people are going into engineering. And I recanted a story of a fellow who was involved in the invention of the transistor. And I asked that guy, because I was thinking the time that I was alive was the best time to be an electrical engineer. And I asked this guy, and he said, I was saying the same thing 25 years ago. That's the truth of the matter. This field has just been always so advancing. It's been so satisfying, so rewarding if you want to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. So the takeaway is be broad because everything is,
Yep.
expanding and moving on in the good direction. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And even in times that are bad, when
Mm.
times are slow, it's typically not then that a company reduces its spending on R&D, inventing new things. When times are bad, people want to get something else out there to get competitive again. And so it's R&D, it's research, it's education, it's getting into things like that are what happens when times get bad. And then when they're good, that's also good investment. So R&D is always a good time to be into.
Even I think I read just quite recently on the vaccine, the mRNA that is happening right now is happening because of COVID, but actually it will have an influence on many different
That's right.
other
That's right.
aspects.
There's always a silver lining in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. I'm happy that you're mentioning the positive for this year. I'm wearing green for the color of hope. So, what is your personal wish for that year, if you mind sharing with us?
So because of COVID, I wanted to get closer to the family, and with my age and all, I thought there's still other things I want to do, but priorities are what they are. And so what I decided to do is I decided to leave DigiKey, came back to Cincinnati, Ohio, which is home, and what I've been doing is a little bit of consulting on the side. I've got a company, Restle, uh, and what we're doing is offering support to companies for technical marketing, strategic direction, product development. But I've got another project on the side that I'm working on. It has to do with this embedded world presentation. Again, with complexity growing, there is one technology that remains difficult for most people to grasp, and
Mm.
that's the field of programmable logic. Programmable logic is using tools from the 80s and 90s that are just overwhelming to the vast majority of people. So, on the side, what I'm working on is to try to find something like an Arduino solution except for programmable logic. And I think that's going to take me a couple of years, but it is nothing but satisfying to be working on. So I'm hoping that I have a little bit more to say about that during my Embedded World presentation.
So hopefully there will be soon some shares of Restle engineering that people can pursue and then fly off together with your project.
That'd be great. It'd be an open source effort so that keep it cost effective for people to use, and that's the thing that kind of drives my passion. I was talking to a somewhat famous author the other day, asking him some perspective, and he said, it's normally guys your age aren't this contemporary with what's happening in the field. I can't help it.
No, I would not be expecting anything else from you, sir. You've been always great, and it's my privilege to talk to you. It was a great privilege to work alongside you. So thank you,
That's mutual.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you. You're the star of the year, so you're the first one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randall. Thanks for your time. All the best to the family, and we'll be in touch, sir. Thank you.
Same
Thank
to
you,
you.
audience.
Hello friends! Seems I got to the end of the internet. Can you please click subscribe button and help me get back home? Thank you!